Welcome to episode 82 of Central Intelligence Cinema. Today we are back with a brand new intel report for you, where Jason and I will have an in-depth discussion of Amazon MGM's recent announcement regarding the next Bond director. So let's get into it, shall we? And if you could please, hit me with that extra special Bond theme, Pierce.
Beg your pardon, forgot to knock.
Welcome to the CIC, initiating security clearance.
Who are you?
Bond. James Bond.
Pussy galore.
Felix Leiter.
His name's Jaws. He kills people.
And Stavro Blofeld.
Identity confirmed.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Welcome to Central Intelligence Cinema, a podcast dedicated to spy movies and secret agent pop culture.
Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British hand up, sir.
You amuse me, Mr. Bond.
Do you expect me to talk?
Sorry, old man. Section 26, paragraph 5. Need to know. Sure you understand.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
Recording from an undisclosed location somewhere under the great lair of Amazon, it's a Central Intelligence Cinema podcast. I'm Jason Greenberg, and with me, as always, Ben Essling.
Thank you, Jason, and welcome back to the CIC, the spy movie podcast that is feeling a bit French-Canadian today, eh?
Oui, oui. Shoot the park!
Oh! But, yeah, welcome back to the CIC. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Ben. How are you today?
I'm hanging in there, you know. I'm happy to be back here in the undisclosed location and talking about all things silly spy shit and talking about Bond!
Is that James Bond?
James Bond, indeed. Yes, that's what we're talking about today. This is kind of an intel report, I suppose, but perhaps more accurately described as a discussion of the big Bond news that came out this past week.
And it was indeed big.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that and all the ins and outs and all the what the ramifications of that big news is. Also, a quick shout out to MI6HQ for much of the information that we're going to be citing today as we talk about all this. I highly recommend their site. They've been putting out some really awesome articles as of late, so you should go and check that out. And they also filter out a lot of the BS that a lot of the rags put out there that you see on the Facebooks and the Instagrams of the world that say that this person's going to be in the next Bond movie and that person's going to be in the next Bond movie, even though historically they have never cast a Bond actor before having a script. So, yeah, just saying.
Now, what if you do see the rumor out there that I'm in the next Bond movie? That is absolutely correct.
100% true. That is the one rumor.
100%. I have, in
right.
fact, been in every single James Bond movie since Diamonds Are Forever. However, all of my scenes...
Are you the tipsy tourist?
No, all of my scenes were cut.
Oh, okay.
Anytime they needed a child in the background in some capacity, they would bring me in the 70s.
Oh.
But then the ratings system would come out, the MPAA would come out and say, you can't put a child in danger. And my mother would say, why? And I would say, yeah. And they were like, no, we can't. So we're going to cut that scene out. But I was No Time to Die. I was in that too. In fact, I almost got into that one. But at the last second, they figured it would just be too much to have this face on the same screen with Daniel Craig, and I don't really disagree, to be honest with you. But guarantee whatever the next one is, I'll be cast in it. I just probably won't show up.
I think you should come back as Vladimir Zukovsky.
I could do that. You could
do that. You do a fine Russian accent, sir.
I could do this. If you need to have older, barrel-chested Russian person to talk to James Bond, I think I would be a good idea. However,
It'll be a good idea.
Probably not going to happen. I think maybe they're just going to put me in small scene and then cut it on floor.
Especially if they're sticking to canon and Zukovsky's dead, so anyway.
That's true. Although I can't do a French Canadian too if I need to. Hey, never know. All right, enough of this horse shit.
All right, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Looking for a news story?
Impress me.
Transmitting CIC Intel dossier.
They'll print anything these days.
Okay, so the big discussion news is that Denis Villeneuve, or Villeneuve? Is it Villeneuve? I think
I'd
you do
say Villeneuve,
pronounce the L's. It's Villeneuve.
Tomato.
We might need to hear from C.
Indeed.
But Denis Villeneuve is set to direct the next James Bond film. So that's the big hubbub around the Bond campfire. But as with all things Intel, there are things we actually know, things we're pretty sure to know, and then there are things we can speculate on or hear about, but ultimately could be complete bullshit. So we're going to break all of those things down that have come into the Bond ether, as it were. So let's just get to what we actually know. Amazon MGM announced on June 25th that Denis Villeneuve will direct the next James Bond film, and it is one film thus far as we know. It isn't known if he has the right of refusal for subsequent outings, but it's going to be, once again, Amy Pascal and David Heyman producing, and then Tanya Lapointe is executive producing. Villeneuve is currently shooting the third and final Dune movie this summer. In fact, I actually just saw headlines that allegedly he's starting this week. And the release for that movie is slated for December 16th of 2026. So he'll have his hands full for the next year, but that'll give time for writers to write and lots of other moving parts to happen and what have you. What we also know is what his previous work associates were. We know that in terms of writing, Villeneuve has previously worked with John Spates, who did Prometheus, Doctor Strange, as well as Dune 1 and 2. He worked with Eric Roth, who also worked on the first Dune, as well as Forrest Gump, Munich, Killers of the Flower Moon. He's done a ton of stuff.
He's a script guy.
Yeah, and then we've got Hampton Fancher, who worked with him on Blade Runner 2049. Also on Blade Runner, Michael Green worked on that. But Michael Green is also known for Logan, the Blue-Eyed Samurai, if you've ever caught that. On Netflix, it's actually a really great
It's
anime.
fantastic. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and then absolutely. And he wrote Alien Covenant. And then Villeneuve has also worked with Eric Heiserer, who worked with him on Arrival. And then he also wrote Bird Box and a handful of horror films. So a pretty great group of people that he's worked with in the past. Are there any of those that you think, Jason, that like stand out to you as ones that would be good in particular for Bond? I'm leaning towards Michael Green, quite frankly.
They all have also worked with Ridley, Spates and Green, obviously on Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Honestly, I think Spates, maybe out of all of this list of people, would probably be a pretty good fit, but I don't really know if Denny's going to get that option.
Oh, if Amazon and MGM is going to make the decision for him.
Pretty much.
That's true. I know that one of the directors that Denny beat out as far as, landing the job, I believe Jonathan Nolan, there was talk that they would try and get Jonathan Nolan to do the writing of the script, just because he's got a lot of writing credits and what have you, but I think he has since bowed out, but I'm sure Denny has an idea. He also works real close with his writers anyway. So I'm sure whoever he ends up pairing up with is going to be translating his vision with, probably
minimal or extreme, a lot of input from Amazon. I have feelings about this, but I'll wait till we get to the end of it. But honestly, I think any of them could do a good job. I don't know so much about Hampton Fancher. Hampton Fancher was the one who wrote the original screenplay for the original Blade Runner.
Yes.
Yes. And so I've seen him write the original screenplay for that, and then this, I suppose. I didn't even know he was involved in writing this. I'm sure he's not just on there as a writer credit.
It might be just one of those type of things, but
I look at like the Michael Green obviously has the widest number of weird options there. Yeah. But I know, I guess I'm so much more familiar with Spates and Eric Roth's work. Yeah. But Spates he shows like he could do the kind of suspension of disbelief stuff. Right.
Yes.
That certainly. Even a James Bond movie requires a little bit of.
Exactly. I mean, anybody who worked on the fact that he did Prometheus tells me a lot, as well as Doctor Strange, actually.
And then you turn around to Doctor Strange.
Right. So he's got he's got some variety and the right blend of things that would work as a Bond writer, I think.
Yeah.
But like you said, it may not even be up to Denny. It may just be what the producers decide to go with.
Let's be honest. How many James Bond movies are written by one person?
This is true. And we will not be getting Purvis and Wade.
Purvis and Wade.
Purvis and Wade will not be back for this. So, and honestly, thank God. I am done. I think the well is very much dry in that department.
Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pitch my idea of a writer combo for this particular movie. Okay, work with me here.
Okay.
Seth Rogen and Evan Greenberg, or Ethan Greenberg, or whatever the kid's name is. Evan Goldberg. Let's bring them in.
Wow. So a stoner comedy action film?
I don't know. I mean, all the stuff they've turned out on TV, come on. The Boys, Preacher.
Oh, I didn't
good.
realize The Boys was part of that whole...
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're starting off with good writing with Garth Ennis, right?
Yes, that's true.
He did both of those projects. And you're starting off with pretty good writing with Ian Fleming. So, why not? What if James Bond came in and he took a shit on the floor? And he's like, bomb! Poop bomb! I think it would work. Oh my God. I think it would work.
Sounds credible. Let's move on. In terms of photography, we also know that Villeneuve has previously worked with Bradford Young, who did Arrival, Selma, Solo, A Star Wars Story, and then he did a lot of work with music artists on music videos and what have you. And then Greg Fraser, I'm not sure how that's pronounced. He's an Oscar winner. I mean, he did Dune Part 1, he did Rogue One, The Batman, Zero Dark 30. He'd probably be my choice.
All terrible movies.
All terrible movies.
Don't watch any of them unless you want to watch something that isn't great.
And then Villeneuve has also worked with Roger Deakins, but Roger Deakins, while he has done Skyfall and Blade Runner and a million other things, he has already sort of stated on record that he's already done a Bond movie. He's past that. Also, he's kind of getting up there in age, too.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he can't do it. I mean, he's still, I'm sure he's still got plenty of chops. I just don't know if he wants to do it at this point.
Well, you never know. Those French-Canadian folks, they can be pretty convincing when they want to be.
This is true. That is
Come on, you have to come do the movie with me. Oh.
They have the combination of a cool accent and they're polite. I mean...
I don't know. I've met
allegedly
more than my share of French Canadians that don't really follow the Canadian politeness thing, but
all right,
it's fine.
It's fine.
I don't think that Greg. I'm going to say Greg. Grogu Fraser.
I'm thinking it's Greg Fraser.
I don't know, because here's the thing: he's going to be coming right off of doing Dune Messiah, I think.
Yeah, so he's probably exhausted.
Well, I don't even know if it's exhausted. If once the script is in place, they're going to have to start doing stuff, right? Now, granted, they're not going to be shooting anything, but you would think that he's going to want his DP in there working on a lot of the pre-stuff. So if it's literally a back-to-back situation, I don't know that, I guess his job's done at that point once it's all in the can and whatnot, but I don't know. I'd love it to be Roger Deakins, to be honest with you. He shoots gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Skyfall was the prettiest Bond movie I've ever seen.
And I mean, No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Everything.
I mean,
he's done everything.
1917. Yeah. The dude has got mad chops. So.
Well, maybe we should start a letter writing campaign right now. Dear Mr. Deakins, as diehard fans of not only the Bond franchise, but your incredible work, we feel that you, even at your advanced age.
But yeah, we shall see. In terms of music, yeah. We know Villeneuve has worked with Hans Zimmer on the last 3 films. I really hope he picks somebody else. I feel like I would like somebody who's not just part of the machine, the Hans Zimmer machine.
The Hans Zimmer machine!
I mean, I know they make good stuff most of the time, but it's starting to feel... I would just like some fresh blood, somebody with a different point of view that's not being overseen by him or Balfe. Somebody
Yeah.
outside of that realm. I'd just like to see somebody fresh and interesting. I don't know. Villeneuve has also worked with Johan Johansson, who has now passed away since 2018, but he did Sicario, The Theory of Everything, and Arrival, so he would have been a great shout. But
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a chance that he's going to be able to score the film, though.
no.
He clearly hasn't worked since 2018. I don't think he's in the business anymore.
Lazy.
Although,
Well, anyway,
what if he was one of those savants who was like, if there's ever a James Bond movie, here's my score already.
Oh, and he just like part of his last will and testament. He just like
Yeah,
packed
absolutely.
It away.
He left it to Denny. He's like, just in case, man.
Just in case.
It's all here for you. It's all here for you.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, you know what? I don't feel like Amazon would be okay with Hans Zimmer. I mean, he can do some classical scoring. I've seen it before. I can't think of the movie. I shouldn't say I've seen it. I heard it before.
Right.
But he's so heavy-handed now.
Yeah.
Bond doesn't need heavy-handed. It really doesn't.
It just needs.
I
feel like it needs something fresh.
Well, or even if it's not, see a new James Bond movie. I like the idea of a new director going in a new direction. Maybe not following the rails we've been following for 185 years, but the music on James Bond is a thing. It's
it
like
absolutely is.
If you put a synth track and electric guitars in Star Wars, it's not Star Wars anymore. You have to mimic John Williams for it to be Star Wars because it's so much a part of the movie.
Yes.
So, and you've got some really good imitators out there, right?
Right.
But I don't think you want to get stray too far from the Bond music formula. The interstitial stuff you can do, but you got to have Bond music. They're not going to reinvent Bond music. Hell, they've made they have made a plethora of Superman films, and even Hans Zimmer had to reference John Williams in there somewhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
so yeah, could you imagine just a heavy synthesizer playing the Bond theme song? It just makes me physically ill.
Yeah. I just want something fresh and different as far as like ideas are concerned. Granted, I still want, the key components of a Bond film where you get the composer and the music artist who does the theme song working together so that you're flowing the theme song into the score and bits and pieces here and there as you're going along.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I just like to see somebody else. What we also know for sure from interviews, in fact, I just watched this, is that Villeneuve is a big fan of the Craig films in general, but specifically Casino Royale, which makes me very happy, as well as Skyfall. So, and those, I mean, if you're going to pick two movies from the Craig era to model yourself after, maybe just a little bit, hopefully, but with new ideas, hopefully. I feel like those are the ones to model yourself after, I suppose. But I hope we get a Denis Villeneuve Bond movie and not Daniel Craig style part 2. Because I would like to see, you know what I mean? Like, I want something that is new. Like, I don't want a continuation of what the Daniel Craig films did. I feel like that would be going the ultra safe route and consequently actually might be a recipe for failure. While I understand that, like, if he wants to do grounded Bond, that's great. Do grounded Bond, but please do it your way. Please do it in a way that doesn't feel like what we've had for the past, 15 years now.
Well, I don't think there's much chance of that. I mean, you can like a thing very much, but not necessarily want to go do that thing, And I don't think that's what Amazon wants either. Or else they would have just been hiring somebody straight out the gate that knows how to make a Bond film for their first go-round, right?
Right.
But I have to admit, because don't get me wrong. First of all, Tens, I love Denis Villeneuve. 100%. Soup to nuts, top to bottom, every movie he's ever done. I'm a little worried that he's a little too artsy-fartsy to do a Bond movie that I will probably be very, very happy with.
Yes.
I don't know if the Bond community will be happy with. It's the same thing about Ridley Scott. Everybody who's listening to this podcast knows that I am madly in love with Ridley Scott's camera. Maybe not Ridley himself, but I love everything he does, with the possible exception of Legend. But it was gorgeous, but still not great. But I don't think he can make a James Bond movie that was worth watching to save my life.
Yeah.
And I think that Denny can make one that, again, I would want to watch. Whereas I don't think that that Ridley anyone would want to watch. But I don't know. I wonder if there's going to be a universal appeal. Like, what if it gets out the door and you're like, this is gorgeous, but it's not Bond. And I'm like, this is gorgeous and it's not Bond. And
right.
And then all of a sudden nobody watches it.
Well, and if you put your ear to the street on the internet, so to speak, to see how people reacted to this news, it's definitely a little uneven. I mean, there are people who are really happy. There are people who are really happy about it, and there are other people who see it as literally the demise of James Bond on the other side of that coin. Like, there are people who feel like this is going to be the death of this franchise. He's going to take it too serious. You know, there are a lot of people that feel like Bond should go back to that lighter Pierce Brosnan-y, Roger Moore-y type era. You know, we've had all this serious Bond stuff from Daniel Craig. Like, let's make it more lighthearted. Let's make it more action-y, fun, and all that. And I get that, especially given the world we're currently living in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just, I'm very curious to see how this goes.
The only thing I can think of is if they do it as an origin story one, like Casino Royale was, and it's kind. I mean, it was, right? You know, in effect.
Yeah.
But I think you could get him where the character development is going to necessarily be a little bit more important to the film than the Bond stuff. But if you're going to make a straight up Bond movie, you got to have one that's either very heavy character oriented or just don't bother, because that's where he shines. He shines in people emoting with not a whole lot of input coming from everywhere else, and that seems like the antithesis of a Bond film, right?
Well, and if you look at the directors who were invited to pitch, right, for this one. So you've got Denis Villeneuve. You've got Edward Berger, who did All Quiet on the Western Front and Conclave. You've got Edgar Wright, who did Shaun of the Dead and Baby Driver. You've got Paul King, who did Wonka and Paddington 2. And then you've got Jonathan Nolan, who's done like the Fallout TV show as well as Westworld. It's like, honestly, I would have picked Edgar Wright.
Me too.
Of those people, of those directors, I would have hands down picked Edgar Wright. In fact, I talked to our good buddy Marty. He felt the same way. I feel like Edgar Wright would have hit the right tone.
Absolutely.
He would have hit the right tone. It would have been a little bit lighter. It would have felt really energetic. It would have felt youthful.
Oh yeah, and the fact that Simon Pegg would have been the most unique and interesting choice for James Bond. I'm telling you.
Oh, he would absolutely have been Q, actually.
He would
have made a perfect Q.
He should have been the villain.
Although he was already Q in Mission Impossible.
He should. If this ever happens, he needs to be the villain. You and I just had this discussion about how good a villain Simon Pegg would be if somebody let him turn loose at it.
If somebody let him play against type, he would be amazing as a villain.
Right. But you know what? I would if I was a fly on the wall at Amazon Studios, and I'd be a very wealthy fly. If I was a fly on the wall, I would be willing to bet that that Edgar Wright had the job.
Yeah.
But when they told him he didn't get final cut, he gave him the finger and walked out the door.
That is probably seems accurate to me.
I'm pretty sure that's why he quit Ant-Man, which would have been an awesomer movie than it was if he'd been in on it. But Marvel's like, no, we're Marvel. We're going to Marvel. And he's like, well, Marvel at me walking out the door, boys, because there I go.
Yeah. And again, that's why a lot of directors don't want any part of Bond, is that they don't get that. Historically, there has never been a Bond movie where the director got final cut.
Right.
And so that's just part of the deal. That's part of the gig. You got to be okay with that. So, but yeah, I feel like Edgar Wright would have been the most logical choice. If you think about all the rumors as far as this falls into the things we can speculate on or hear about, but ultimately could be complete bullshit. We don't know for sure that Amazon MGM is in fact looking for a Bond actor who's under 30. We don't know that for sure. It's probably true, though. That makes sense. I could see them doing that. But if that is true, then Edgar Wright would be the logical decision, because I feel like his movies always play youthful.
For sure.
And that is clearly what MGM and Amazon are going for this round. So I don't know. It is kind of a weird choice that they went with Denny, but I also, again, I think it's one of those things where they're scared to, it's like they want to reinvent the wheel, but they're afraid to reinvent the wheel. It's like only going halfway into reinventing the wheel. You know what I mean?
Well, they've got a lot of precedent. I mean, they watched Disney start off super strong with Star Wars and then kind of dismantle it from a movie's perspective. They picked it up on the TV end big time. And to be honest, I feel like maybe we see more Jonathan Nolan if they decide to do any kind of TV Bond, because that's his bread and butter right there. But so they've seen what happens when a new player comes into an old franchise or an older franchise and tries to put their spin on it. What I'm hoping they learned is that at a certain point in time, you got to keep your fingers out of it and let the people that you hired who know Bond or Star Wars or whomever do what they need to do, right? So
I mean, that's what you're paying them for.
Exactly. And I mean, if you give them marching orders, we want people to enjoy it, but we don't want it to be Dad's Bond or Uncle's Bond or Grandpa's Bond. We want a Bond for the true Bond for the 21st century that appeals to everybody. But how do you get a character that was born in the 1950s to play to everybody in 2026, 2027, 2030?
That is intrinsically a misogynist. That is
yes. Without, here you go, I'm getting back on my soapbox, without moving it to the period it was written. Okay, I'm getting off the soapbox now. As I still feel to this day, we reached the pinnacle of what James Bond could do with No Time to Die. And that's why he had to die. That James Bond, not only physically, but metaphorically, had to die in that movie so that a new version of James Bond could come to life for the 21st century. You can't have that Bond. But do you want to go to a James Bond movie where he doesn't slap a girl on the ass? With consent, but, you know.
Yeah, except in this era, he gets reprimanded for it. Like, truly reprimanded for it.
Or, to be honest, the best thing about not the best thing, one of the best things about Daniel Craig's movies was he had some opportunities to kind of treat women like Chattel, like in, the girl in Casino Royale, things don't go well for her. The girl in Skyfall, things don't go well for her, you know. But I mean, it's not Sean Connery's James Bond by any stretch of the imagination, but he's still using women. They are, of course, participating in being used, but then they all still end up dead. But the whole relationship with Vesper, that's the kind of relationship that you can have in a Bond film now, where it's flirty,
absolutely.
And then betrayal and that kind of things. There's no more throwing Honey Rider in the hay. And doing that.
Just imposing your will. I mean,
unless you want to madman that shit and just make it an uncomfortable James Bond film to watch set 1953.
Honestly, you know what I'd love to see? I would love to put the shoe on the other foot and have a moment where a Bond girl smacks Bond on the ass and says, "Woman talk." And leaves it behind.
Yes. That would be fabulous.
That would be fabulous.
James, this is Bob. Bob, say hello to James. Hello, James. Goodbye, James. What?
Women talk. But I digress. Here's what we are pretty sure to know. We know that Villeneuve's idea has probably been around for years now because he actually auditioned for the job before No Time to Die even came out. But that being said, it stands to reason, the writers are going to take that and do with it what they will for a year. So we're not going to see Denny for a year. And then he's going to come back and hopefully they will have a rough draft of the script. So it would stand to reason in theory that we'd have script block sometime, hopefully in the fall of 2026, unless Amazon and MGM get in a fight with Denny and things don't go well. But hopefully, optimistically, shooting could begin either in late 2026 or early 2027. My money would be on the latter. Optimistically, we could get a Bond film shot and released by late 2027 or sometime in 2028.
Yep.
My prediction is 2028. I think this is going to take longer than they think. What do you think?
Yep. If I were going to look at your reasonably and well thought out logical progression here. I'm saying Memorial Day weekend in 2028 because you're going to want to. You don't want to be in the middle. You don't want to be in the middle with the Bond film. So you're either at the very end in August, or you're going to be right there at the beginning in May. Yeah, but back to the little point you made about Denny maybe getting into a fist fight with people. That's the biggest problem that I have here. If they keep trying to put their will on him in a way that makes him unhappy, he's going to walk.
Right, because he's a director that can literally just go do whatever the hell he wants in most cases.
He's coming in saying, okay, I'm going to play by your rules because I really want to do this. But if they're so invasive in everything that he does, he isn't going to care. It's in his clause to walk without any problem. He's probably got a pay or play deal, right? So he can probably walk off and not film a line of shit and still get paid for it.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure he would have traded that to get final cut on the movie.
Yes.
Right? So, he's at a level where he could just take his ball and walk away if he wants to. And I feel like it's a definite possibility. Unless our new producer friends stay off on the fringes.
Are the shield.
Right.
Yeah, I almost hope that they're sort of like in his court, like defending him against the upper echelon of MGM and Amazon.
Right.
Because I'm more worried about the suits than I am the producers, quite honestly.
Yeah, they all, for their bona fides, they certainly seem like they could probably run a Bond franchise with competence and love. So
yes.
I'm not less worried, but we don't know how big of corporate shills they are either. They may have they may have wielded more power, and I think some of them did in their previous positions, and they're going to be wielding here. So who knows? Yeah. But it is. I mean, it's my hope that it does work out in some capacity, so that he doesn't bail. Because if he does, we're right back where we started. James Bond 2030. Woo!
Yeah. And then what decent director is going to want to even touch the thing at that point? Exactly. If he decides to say, screw you. I mean, Christopher Nolan already walked because he was like, no, I have to have final cut or else I'm out. And he was
either
out.
that or nobody was sold on his 1955 script that I know he probably walked in there with.
It wasn't 1955 script. It was a go back in time to 1955 script. It was a time traveling one.
Go back in time to 1955. Great Scott! There's an Englishman in my garage. What the hell happened? Who the hell are you? Where's Marty?
Wow. That was a crossover that I didn't expect, but kind of want to see now.
Tell me, why is it that you keep saying your last name and then you say your whole name? I don't understand. Is there some sort of problem with grammar in 2025?
So, other things that we're pretty sure that we know. Well, we're pretty sure that we know that Bond is not going to meet Doc Brown, but we are also pretty sure that based on history, we probably won't start actually casting Bond until after the script is close to lock. There will be plenty of rumors, which there already are.
Now. Yeah.
But nothing official will probably happen. I'm 98% sure, unless Amazon, pulls an audible and decides we're going to do this different. We need to keep people interested. We're going to announce something now. But I just don't think them breaking with how things just run. That's just how the business runs. But on that note, there have been rumors already. There was a big article in Variety that came out on the 27th that says, insiders say that the studio and producers are interested in casting a British actor under the age of 30, with Jacob Elordi of Saltburn fame, Tom Holland of Spider-Man fame, and Harris Dickinson of Baby Girl fame at the top of the list. Every time an article starts with insiders say, my ass begins to twitch.
Right?
Because that is just the big red flag of bullshit waving in my face. That's what insiders say means to me. It's the same thing that I heard when this is the same people who were saying insiders say that Zendaya and Florence Pugh are the front runners to be Bond women in the next Bond movie. And it's just like, no, they're not. No, they aren't. We don't know anything. The whole insiders say thing. The moment you see a story that begins with insiders say, don't trust it. Don't trust it. It's not true.
Even if it comes from Variety. And of course, the main statement that they're saying that the insiders say is that they're going to cast a British actor under the age of 30.
Right.
Well, 100% British actor, duh. Unless, unless we get
maybe Australian if you decide to bend the rules.
Well, we know how well that worked out for us last time. So I don't know how I feel about that. But unless we're going to get Ryan Gosling is James Bond, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a British actor. So, but I'm like, I don't know. The two big choices, giant or short man, short king. Isn't that what the kids say these days?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, it's just like, okay, so you can either go with Jacob Elordi, who was also of note to be in The Kingsman as the sort of the snobby upper crust candidate who was in the Kingsman program,
right?
Who failed. He's 6'5".
It's too tall.
Which honestly is actually too tall for Bond. And then you've got just the opposite problem with Tom Holland, who looks like a little boy and is 5'7". Neither one of those guys.
Both can act the shit out of things. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're good
not
candidates
Bond.
to be Bond. No, they're not. No. Absolutely not. It's silly. It's absolutely silly. If Tom Holland became Bond, I don't even know if I'd want to watch it. Well, like, are they going to have to put him on an egg? Are they going to have to put him on a crate next to his leading
Ben,
woman in every scene?
Now, Ben, I happen to know for a fact that you have watched 8 spy movies with a teeny tiny little man in them and complained not once about any of them.
Well, that's true. That's fair.
Except maybe number 2. But
except maybe
to
2.
Be fair, we both did. So
that's right. And he probably just wore like platform shoes.
Right? In my mind, and I know that he's not necessarily in the age range of under 30, I still think Nicholas Hoult, Bond all the way.
Absolutely, 100%.
He is young enough to crank out 3 to 5 movies.
Absolutely.
And if they go on the full Roger Moore program, 12 or 14 movies. He's 1,000%. Tall, he's suave, he's debonair. You got to maybe beef him up a little on the muscles, but also maybe not.
And he's not such a super duper star that too big, because they've never picked a somebody who was a super duper star. They always pick somebody that was kind of a star, but not all the way there. Even with him becoming Lex Luthor in the next Superman movie, that's still not going to catapult him to the next level, I think. If he became Bond,
it would be the biggest thing he ever did.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And that's the thing that you need for a Bond actor, is that Bond can't be less of a thing than he was already. That's why Henry Cavill will probably never be Bond. He was Superman.
That's why Daniel Craig was so good at it.
You're right. All he was in was Layer Cake prior to this. So, I don't know. It's just
I'll go on record right now saying, with my imaginary 5 Central Intelligence Cinema dollars in hand,
yes,
CIC bucks, get them in the store. Just kidding, they're not actually there. Neither Jacob Elordi or Tom Holland or even this Harris Dickinson guy, who I don't even know, are going to be James Bond. So, Variety, you're dumb.
Time will tell, but I don't think any of them will be. I mean, this is just as bad as all the things when they kept talking about Idris Elba being Bond at 50, whatever he's at right now. It's just like, come on. No.
I've been a Tom Hardy guy for this role forever, right? And a Clive Owen guy before that, right? Those are 2 guys that, to me, they're thuggish enough to play the real James Bond, right? They're handsome in their own way, but they've got dark eyes, like a doll's eyes, roll back in their head before they shoot you, kind of thing. Right. And I still love to see them play James Bond. But to be honest with you, I'd still like to see Pierce come back as old Bond. So,
yeah.
I'm so much more open to what my Bond, I know, which is dumb. It's like the fabled King Conan movie with Schwarzenegger that still looks like it's on the books, but hasn't gotten made yet. Where it's old Conan. Who doesn't want to see old Arnie playing old Conan? Nobody. Everybody wants to see that.
Exactly.
Okay, maybe not everybody, but enough people to make the movie, damn it. He's still got the sword.
I'll tell you what, the generation that's got money would have money to pay for it to watch the movie.
I'm just saying. But, I mean, I understand the logic of this notion that they want to get somebody to franchise it for 10 to 15 years. But
Yeah.
I don't think they want somebody who plays young in this role. So
Yeah.
you need an older actor who can play young, Nicholas Hoult, and let him carry the franchise through
Yeah.
to whatever that conclusion is,
Yeah.
in my humble opinion.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Now, there was an interesting opinion piece that came out recently from MI6 HQ saying that a great choice for a new movie would be to remake Moonraker, but faithful to the book, which has no gadgets. The threat is national, not global, and in their words says Bond himself is shown in the raw, intelligent, irritable, occasionally unsure of himself, and entirely lethal when the moment demands. What the franchise needs now is a reset, not a reinvention, but a restoration. And while I love that idea, God, I love that idea. It just sounds amazing. I don't think Amazon has the balls, quite frankly, to actually try it. Now, that being said,
That's exactly the movie that Denis Villenueve should direct.
absolutely, 1000%. Now, that being said, I hold out hope that somewhere, some way, that they make a Bond TV series that is historical, that does take place in the 50s or even before the 50s, like the 30s even, but do it as a TV series, make it completely apart from the movies, two separate universes that don't intersect, and let something like this idea come to fruition. I think you could really do something like that.
Yeah, that would be great, but it's never gonna happen. They're gonna try and build the Bond universe, so everything's gonna have to be interconnected. And if we get 10 years of successful Bond universe, then maybe we get a what if type of thing like they do with Disney, where they're gonna try a little something different, but they're still tying that into the main continuum anyway through multiverse kind of stuff.
Yeah. They got to be wildly successful with the normal stuff before they can experiment and try stuff like this.
Disney does do that Star Wars Visions thing, which isn't part of the canon, where they let specific animators with pedigree come out and do a Star Wars story of their own that doesn't necessarily relate to anything else. That would be great. But I feel like it would be animated just like that. Like Amazon isn't going to be willing to drop dime on full production for alternate Bond stories.
They'll do an animated Bond.
Yep.
But adult animated Bond, that would be kind of cool.
But, or you get Ian Flux, and nobody wants that. But I feel like, having read that article, like the original Moonraker story could be contemporized too, right? All the threats are still the same.
It would basically be like an Elon Musk type character.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Bond, non-scholarly historian. Where does Moonraker fall in the James Bond timeline in the books? Is it relatively early in his career? Is it a first, second novel?
Moonraker is the third of it comes. So it's Casino Royale, Live and Let Die, and then Moonraker.
Okay, so it's not like a baby Bond. Although I don't know if there's even like is there an expressed timeline with Bond in the books, or is just sort of like I just wrote them and they're contemporary to the period when Fleming wrote them?
I think they're just contemporary to that period. I don't think there is like a baby Bond. I mean, what they did in Casino Royale with Daniel Craig is not
okay. That's what I was asking.
There was
so they added the origin story, kind of for movie's sake.
Yes.
So Bond was born straight out James Bond from the get-go. There's no ramp up to get him anywhere.
Right. He's right in the casino when you first meet him. So
gotcha. Which, if we'd met in Las Vegas, that's where you would have first met me too. So I would have been like James Bond, and so would you, because that's the first place I would have met you.
There you go. So as far as like tone, you would like to see this idea.
This idea would be great for Denny.
For Denny. What do you want to see in the next Bond movie? Like what kind of
everybody knows what I want to see on this show.
Yeah, you want the period piece Bond.
I do.
Gotcha.
I do. I want the period piece Bond and I like the idea of no gadgets or minimal realistic gadgets.
Okay.
What I want is the serious version of Man from U.N.C.L.E. Hand to God, right? Take the comedy bits out of it and have it be set in the 60s where it rightfully belongs, and just make it a serious version of that, where even the technology is still big and clunky.
Yes. See, I would love a period piece Bond as well, but I would want it very Man from U.N.C.L.E.-ish. Guy Ritchie style, where there is comedy and there are gadgets, and the gadgets are based on the technology of the 40s and 50s.
Right.
You know, the shoe phone, and the I want the goofy shit.
CO2 laser.
I want a CO2 laser. That is what I want. I mean, if I was to see a contemporary Bond, which we will see a contemporary Bond, but I would like something lighter. I would have really killed for an Edgar Wright, energetic, not gone so far as a Pierce Brosnan Bond, because I think that's a little too much.
Late Raj, late Pierce, goofy.
Yeah, honestly, I would like to see a Timothy Dalton Bond, but with just a tinge of humor, just a little bit of humor added in.
Honestly, I think there was a lot of humor in both of Timmy's movies. It was just poor writing. They didn't know how to write jokes very well. But I don't want a super serious James Bond either. Half of Bond is the fact that he makes a joke about everything. He's like the Spider-Man of spies. He has to make a joke every time he does something, right? So I'm not against that, and that's actually where I feel like Villeneuve may not be able to play the type very well, because he doesn't really write jokey and direct jokey. And when he does, a lot of them kind of fall flat. So
yeah.
I think a successful Bond movie needs to have him taking the piss out of himself for doing really terrible things, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully you're taking the piss out of the audience too, because he's doing really awful things, right? So it's the thing that keeps people, that makes James Bond charming, because it ain't the killing people. It ain't the is it rape or ain't it rape whole thing going on. It's him being shocking when someone gets electrocuted, right?
Exactly.
So that's an important element that can't leave, and slowly bled out in the Daniel Craig films, I think. It became kind of humorless at the end.
Very much, unfortunately, in that respect.
Yeah. So, I don't necessarily want a serious version. I'd love to see this movie with a little bit of humor in it, too. I'm just saying that from this director's standpoint, this would be a strong movie for him to work on. He can make that movie.
100%. He'd have to do it contemporary, because, quite frankly, the studio will insist.
Yes.
And it's just curious to see what this new thing is. I mean, if you think about some of the things that came out right towards the very end, right before Barbara Broccoli, right before she left, how she was calling the executives at Amazon MGM idiots and things like that. It really does make me wonder, like, what are their ideas? What are the things that they want to have done? That being said, I also feel like the fact that we've already got an extremely capable director like Denis Villeneuve and two very capable producers as well, my thought is maybe she just needed to get out of the way.
Yeah, it's been my thought forever.
It's actually a good thing that she's out of the way completely. And maybe some of these ideas that they have, I'm hoping, are not terrible. And it's just a matter of time before we find out more.
Absolutely. We're not going to know till we know.
Yeah.
And I think the first tell will be, does he finish the movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
100%. Yeah. If he comes back from doing Dune Messiah and he sees the script and he polishes the script and he turns in the script and they say, nuh-uh, this isn't at all what we want, and he walks, that'll let us know everything we need to know. But we won't know that for another year.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, I'll make the prediction right now, whoever gets picked for James Bond, 40% of the people are going to like it, 60% of the people are going to hate it, and nobody's going to know for sure until the movie comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and ask everybody, just shut the hell up. You don't know. We don't know. We don't know shit. Yeah. We've acknowledged that multiple times in this. It's
so
just us
times.
talking. It's just us talking. We're not being. Are we being mean? Am I picking on Ben because of whatever he's thinking? Is he picking on me? He is in his head. But is he picking on me out loud? No. Because two people can disagree about something on the internet and not have to tell them how much their mother is horrible.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But I think that, Jason, is everything in the dossier for now.
Yep. The rest will be 100% more conjecture than the 100% conjecture we just put on.
Exactly. But hey, Tens, what are your first thoughts about the Bond director announcement? What do you think about Denis Villeneuve? Do you think he's a great choice? Do you think he's an abomination? Do you think he's somewhere in between? We would love to hear what you think, because if there's one thing that we beat you over the head with, it's listener interaction invitations. And so please drop us a line. We are available through so many different outlets, on email at cicdeaddrop@gmail.com. On Instagram, we're Central Intelligence Cinema, separated by underscores. And on Blue Sky, we're cicspypod.bsky.social. And there's a whole slew of other socials we're on. And you can find the links to all of them at the bottom of the show description of every episode we put out. So, yeah, what do you say, Jason? Should we get out of here?
Yeah, let's make like a tree and get out of here.
Alrighty then. Well, with that, I'm Ben.
And I'm Jason.
And the CIC will return with more missions, more martinis,
And more mayhem.